Did you know that the wife of one Filipino businessman turned instant noodles into an instant billion-dollar empire, making more money from pancit canton than some oil tycoons make from drilling? Welcome to the Philippines' real power players, the women behind the fortunes. From pharmacy queens to retail visionaries, these are the hidden forces quietly running the nation's wealth. And trust me, the #1 woman on this list built a legacy so massive it reshaped the Filipino business landscape itself. At number 15, Rabina Gokongwei-Pe, Philippines' retail royalty. Let's kick things off with a woman whose family name is stamped on half the shopping bags in the country. Every time you've popped into a Robinson's supermarket, grabbed medicine from South Star Drug, or browsed at Ministop, a part of your peso ended up in Rabina Gokongwei-Pe's pocket. As the president and CEO of Robinson's Retail Holdings, Rabina oversees a massive consumer empire of over 2,000 stores nationwide. A retail web so wide it touches nearly every Filipino household. Born into the legendary Gokongwei dynasty, Rabina grew up watching her late father, John Gokongwei Jr., build JG Summit from scratch. But she's no passive heir. With an estimated net worth of around $1.9 billion, Rabina is the modern face of old money, sharp, strategic, and allergic to corporate complacency. Known for her hands-on management style, she's the type to walk into a supermarket unannounced just to check shelf displays or chat with cashiers about customer feedback. Her leadership blends data-driven precision with a grounded understanding of how everyday Filipinos shop. Beyond the boardroom, her lifestyle strikes a delicate balance between elegance and restraint. Her Dasmariñas village mansion, valued at over 700 million pesos, is said to house a private art collection rivaling local museums, while her Tagaytay villa serves as a weekend sanctuary away from Manila's buzz. She moves between cities in a Bombardier Global jet, always understated in Chanel suits, Valentino pumps, and Bulgari jewelry, quiet power with impeccable polish. But perhaps her most defining trait is purpose. Through the Gokongwei Brothers Foundation, Rabina funds educational and entrepreneurship initiatives that empower future innovators, a nod to her father's vision of inclusive growth. And now, from loud inheritance, we shift to quiet power. Because our next billionaire doesn't just influence medicine, she commands industries that keep the country's lights on. Number 14, Soledad Gretchen, Oppen-Cojuangco, the matriarch of San Miguel. Now, if you've ever cracked open a bottle of San Miguel beer or driven on a tollway built by SMC, you've brushed shoulders with Soledad Cojuangco, one of the Philippines' most discreet billionaires and arguably its most powerful widow. But here's where her story takes a wild turn. Soledad's late husband, Eduardo Danding Cojuangco Jr., was no ordinary businessman. He was a titan, part politician, part industrialist, and part myth. His life was a tangled web of empire building and controversy, from the Coco Levy Fund saga to the takeover of San Miguel Corporation, a company that went from brewing beer to building airports. But after his passing in 2020, Soledad became the Cojuangco family's matriarch, the steady hand behind a 1.5 trillion peso empire that touches nearly every Filipino life. Food, fuel, power, tollways. If it moves, lights up, or fills your fridge, San Miguel likely has a stake in it. What makes Soledad fascinating is how unlike her late husband she is. Danding was flamboyant, a Marcos ally with political ambitions and an entourage to match. Soledad, meanwhile, rarely steps into the spotlight. No interviews, no events, not even a soundbite. Yet through her quiet authority, the Cojuangco influence remains unbroken. And while other conglomerates trim down, SMC keeps expanding, from owning Petron to constructing the new Manila International Airport, a $15 billion mega project that could reshape the country's infrastructure for decades. In short, Gretchen Cojuangco doesn't need to shout to be heard. Her empire speaks louder than any press release could. And speaking of empires that define everyday life, let's shift gears to a woman whose creations don't just fuel industries, they feed an entire nation. Number 13, Betty Ang, the queen of instant noodles. Let's put a little tastefulness to our list, because the woman we're going to talk about built her fortune not from oil, steel, or real estate, but from noodles. Betty Ang, the co-founder and president of Monde Nissin Corporation, turned humble pantry staples into a billion-dollar empire. Back in 1989, she and her husband, Gokongwei-Pe, launched a brand called Lucky Me, and that was it. History was cooked, served, and slurped in millions of Filipino homes. What started as an affordable comfort food became a cultural phenomenon. Lucky Me now commands over 70% of the instant noodle market, and Monde Nissin's portfolio has expanded to include skyflakes, fita, and mamacitas, basically the holy trinity of Filipino snack time. But Betty didn't stop there. In 2015, she made one of the boldest moves in Philippine business history, acquiring Quorn Foods, a UK-based plant protein giant, for £550 million. That single deal transformed Monde Nissin from a local favourite into a global food tech leader, putting her in the same conversation as Nestlé and Unilever. What makes Betty particularly remarkable isn't just her success, it's her silence. She's never given a full-length media interview, even after leading the largest ever food IPO in Philippine history, worth nearly $1 billion. Yet her brand is so ingrained in the national psyche that it's practically folklore. Ask any Filipino college student and they'll tell you how they survived midterms on nothing but Lucky Me, pancit canton, and sheer willpower. And from noodles that shaped a nation's appetite, our next billionaire shaped its cities, quite literally building the modern Filipino suburb from the ground up. Number 12, Josephine Gotianun-Yap, the real estate empress. If the Philippines had a monopoly board, half the tiles would probably belong to Josephine Gotianun-Yap. As chairperson of Filinvest Development Corporation, she inherited her late parents' vision, but took it to the next level. Together with her husband, the late Andrew Gotianun, she built an empire spanning real estate, banking, energy, and hospitality, worth billions in assets. Filinvest City in Alabang, Festival Mall, Crimson Hotels, all carry her imprint. Under Josephine's leadership, the company expanded into Filinvest Land, which built over 200 residential projects across the country, and EastWest Bank, one of the country's top universal banks. She's known as a meticulous decision-maker, blending engineering precision with boardroom poise. Her Ayala Alabang mansion, valued at over 500 million pesos, serves as her base, but she's often spotted jetting off to company projects aboard a Gulfstream G450 or relaxing in her Balasin villa, surrounded by fellow tycoons. Style-wise, she's the embodiment of quiet luxury. Max Mara suit, Escada silk blouses, and a Cartier watch that's seen more board meetings than most executives. Beyond business, she's a leading advocate for affordable housing, directing billions of pesos in corporate social responsibility toward community-building initiatives through the Filinvest Foundation. And while Josephine builds the skylines we see, the next rich wife on our list built the invisible network that keeps those skylines connected. Number 11, Maria Grace Uy, the digital dynamo. In a country notorious for slow internet, Maria Grace Uy decided she'd had enough and then went on to build the broadband empire that changed everything. Together with her husband Dennis Anthony Uy, she co-founded Converge ICT Solutions in 2007, long before fiber became a household word. Their origin story sounds like a garage startup legend. The two were running a small cable TV business in Pampanga, selling Betamax tapes on the side, when they spotted a gap in the market. Everyone was hungry for speed, but the big telcos weren't delivering, so they decided to do it themselves. Fast forward to today, Converge has grown into one of the Philippines' top broadband providers. A network of over 800,000 kilometers of fiber, connecting 17 million homes nationwide. Their 2020 IPO raised $500 million, the largest tech IPO in Philippine history. and instantly turned the couple into one of the nation's richest power duos. Maria Grace, who serves as President and Chief Resources Officer, is often described as the brains that keep the machine running. She's meticulous, data-driven, and famously demanding, the kind of leader who knows the numbers down to the decimal. Her focus, speed, reliability, and scale. And unlike many dynasties on this list, the Ues are entirely self-made. No inheritance, no family fortune, just sheer grit, vision, and sleepless nights wiring up a dream. In under 2 decades, Converge has forced telecom giants like PLDT and Globe to evolve or risk becoming obsolete. Analysts have even compared its growth curve to Netflix in its early days: lean, aggressive, and unstoppable. And now, from one woman who connected the nation, we move to another who healed it. A legend whose legacy lives on in every pharmacy across the Philippines. Number 10. Vivian Que-Azcona, the pharmacy heiress. When Mariano Que opened a small drugstore in post-war Manila in 1945, he probably didn't imagine his daughter would one day become one of the richest women in the Philippines. But Vivian Que-Azcona, the reclusive matriarch behind Mercury Drug, made sure her father's legacy scaled from a single pharmacy to a nationwide chain of over 1,000 stores, dominating the pharmaceutical retail space for over 7 decades. Mercury Drug's estimated annual revenue now exceeds 100 billion pesos, and its name is as recognizable as the flag itself. Vivian, whose estimated fortune sits around $1.7 billion, took charge quietly but decisively, automating systems, expanding the distribution network, and ensuring every Filipino province had access to affordable medicine. But if you think doing all this was just a piece of cake for her, well, you're in for a surprise. Vivian joined the company in 1977 as a young assistant and worked her way through every rung of the ladder, learning logistics, accounting, and store operations before eventually taking over as president. By the time she did, Mercury Drug had grown into an empire of over 1,200 branches nationwide, the largest and most trusted pharmacy chain in the country. Her genius was operational. Vivian revolutionized how Filipinos accessed healthcare. She pioneered 24-hour pharmacy service, launched the Suki loyalty program, and introduced Gamot Padala, a delivery service that allowed families to send medicine anywhere in the country. In short, she made access to healthcare not just convenient, but personal. For decades, surveys have ranked Mercury Drug among the country's most trusted brands, sometimes even above government agencies. That level of credibility doesn't come from advertising, it comes from service. When Vivian passed away in April 2025, tributes poured in from across the nation, not from fellow billionaires, but from ordinary Filipinos. She wasn't just a CEO, she was the woman who made sure no one had to walk far for medicine, no matter who they were. Mercury Drug remains family-owned, debt-free, and proudly Filipino, standing as a monument to her father's vision and her own humanity-driven leadership. Number 9. Elizabeth Betty Sy, the SM heiress of style, luxury, hospitality, and the art of making people feel at home. That's Elizabeth Sy's empire summed up. As the daughter of the late retail giant Henry Sy Sr., Betty didn't just inherit money, she inherited the blueprint of modern Filipino life. But instead of just following her family's retail path, which was certainly the easy way, she chose to chart her own, one rooted in elegance and experience. Through SM Investments Corporation, she sits on the board of a conglomerate that runs half the country's shopping, banking, and real estate worlds. From SM Supermalls to BDO Unibank, all the way to the 5-star Tal Vista Hotel. That's a portfolio so massive, it basically defines where the Philippines shops, saves, and stays. But unlike her brothers who dominate headlines with billion-peso expansions, Betty's empire moves quietly, wrapped in silk, pearls, and perfect timing. Her 700 million pesos Dasmariñas estate could pass for a museum, complete with marble floors, a private jewelry gallery, and whispers of old money calm. When she's not hosting charity dinners for the SM Foundation, she's hopping between Hong Kong and Paris in her Bombardier Challenger jet, dressed head to toe in Chanel tweed and Cartier diamonds. Because of course she is. And yet, beneath the couture is a woman who keeps giving back, funding scholarships, hospitals, and community centers across the country. Betty Sy may have inherited malls, but she built meaning into the marble. Now, if Betty turned retail into royalty, let's meet the women who control the cash flow. Because our next dynasty runs the banks that bankroll everyone else. Number 8. The Ty sisters, the banking dynasty heiresses. They say money talks, but the Ty sisters, Alessandra and Anjanette, are among the few Filipinos who speak it fluently. As heirs to George Ty's Metrobank empire, they grew up where finance wasn't just a career, it was family tradition. Their father, the late banking patriarch, left behind one of the country's most formidable financial groups, spanning Metrobank, Toyota Philippines, and federal land. But instead of just inheriting the keys to the vault, the sisters also learned how to expand it. Alessandra sits on the board of GT Capital Holdings, steering real estate and automotive ventures, while Anjanette manages the Metrobank Foundation, known for its annual search for the country's most outstanding teachers, soldiers, and artists. Together, they've sustained the family's reputation for discretion and discipline, a rarity in a world where billionaires love attention. The sisters' Forbes Park compound is rumored to be worth over 1 billion pesos, and it's literally an enclave of contemporary architecture and old money grace. We're talking manicured Zen gardens, a private art collection, and a garage lined with European classics. And on top of all, the family's Gulfstream G650 makes their trips to New York or Tokyo boardrooms feel like commutes. Style-wise, they channel refined restraint, Dior, Valentino, Cartier, and not a logo out of place. But their power play isn't fashion, it's philanthropy. Through the Metrobank Foundation, they direct hundreds of millions toward cultural preservation, education, and healthcare. But here's the kicker. In a clan built on finance, it's the women who quietly keep the empire's gears turning. And if the Thais built a banking legacy, our next matriarch built an entire political dynasty, with old money, older influence, and stories that could fill a novel. Number 7. The Campos sisters, the silent pillars of Philippine healthcare. Now let's talk about a family whose influence runs deeper than anyone realizes. If you've ever popped a paracetamol, treated a cough, or stocked up on vitamins in the Philippines, there are high chances you've unknowingly handed a few pesos to the Campos dynasty. The story began in 1945, when Jose Yao Campos co-founded United Laboratories, or Unilab, with a dream that medicine shouldn't be a luxury. He started with a tiny pharmacy in post-war Manila, a time when penicillin was rarer than gold, and turned it into a pharmaceutical powerhouse that now controls a quarter of the entire Philippine drug market. At the helm today stands Josephine Campos, the strategic face of the next generation. Under her watch, Unilab has become a name synonymous with trust, a quiet constant in the chaos of modern healthcare. But here's what makes the Campos clan fascinating. They don't just sell medicine. They've expanded into nutrition through Del Monte Pacific, creating a seamless empire where wellness meets the dinner table. Their philosophy? It's the Bayanihan capitalism. Unilab still runs outreach programs, medical caravans, and disaster relief efforts nationwide, proving that doing good can, in fact, be great business. During the pandemic, they were among the first to donate vaccines and test kits, quietly doing what most tycoons would have held press conferences for. No flashy yachts, no magazine spreads, just multi-billion peso impact hidden behind pharmacy counters and canned fruit aisles. And just when you think we've reached the peak of privilege, our next woman proves you can start in the spotlight, leave it behind, and still shine brighter than ever. Number 6. Nanette Medved-Po, the movie star turned mogul. Now here's a plot twist Hollywood could never write better. The actress who once played Dana didn't just save the day on screen. She's saving the planet in real life. Nanette Medved-Po went from silver screen sweetheart to sustainability mogul, and her empire is as green as it is gold. After hanging up her cape, Nanette founded Generation Hope, the company behind hope in a bottle, where every peso of profit builds classrooms for public schools across the Philippines. And just when people thought she'd hit her peak, she launched Plastic Credit Exchange, a groundbreaking global platform that helps companies like Nestlé and Unilever clean up their environmental footprints. Today, her estimated $400 million fortune isn't from inheritance or industry hand-me-downs, it's from turning conscience into currency. And her lifestyle matches her mission. Think eco-luxury villas in Palawan and Manila, powered by solar panels, built with recycled wood, and overlooking ocean views you couldn't buy unless you're Nanette. She's married to Chris Po, heir to the Century Pacific food fortune, but make no mistake, Nanette is the CEO of her own destiny. Her style, sustainable chic, minimalist gowns, Filipino jewelry, and a touch of quiet rebellion. She's proof that you can look good, do good, and still build a multi-billion peso business while doing it. And if Dana traded her cape for carbon credits, our next female tycoon built sanctuaries that heal the soul. And she did it with a level of elegance only true old money can afford. Number 5. Susan Koh, the retail visionary. If you've ever walked into a Pure Gold store, grabbed a basket and thought, wow, everything I need is right here, you've stepped into Susan Koh's world. She and her husband, Lucio Koh, built their retail empire in 1998, right in the middle of the Asian financial crisis, when everyone else was cutting back. Their gamble? That the Filipino middle class wasn't going anywhere and groceries would always be recession-proof. They were right. What started as a single hypermarket in Quezon City is now over 640 stores strong, making Pure Gold the second largest grocery chain in the Philippines. Their secret sauce wasn't luxury branding. It was empathy for the everyman. Pure Gold's genius lay in its Tindahan ni Aling Puring program, a first-of-its-kind loyalty ecosystem that transformed thousands of sari-sari store owners into wholesale partners. Instead of competing with small businesses, Susan empowered them, effectively turning Pure Gold into the beating heart of the Philippines' grassroots economy. Behind the shelves, the Koh family diversified brilliantly. Through Costco Capital, they control liquor distribution, brands like Alfonso and Tanduay, real estate holdings, and even Liquigas, one of the country's major LPG distributors, tying together food, fuel, and everyday living into one unified business web. In short, Susan's empire thrives on the same principle that built it: serve the people who make the country run. And if she's the woman keeping the nation moving, our next heiress proves that sometimes power doesn't come from boardrooms, but from bloodlines older than the Republic itself. Number 4. Irene Marcos-Araneta, the political heiress with old-world glamour. Not many names in the Philippines carry as much history and mystique as Irene Marcos-Araneta. But while her siblings dominate politics, Irene has mastered the art of staying just visible enough. Married to Gregorio "Greggy" Araneta III, who was heir to the Araneta family's real estate and energy empire, Irene sits at the crossroads of power and privilege, a place where legacy meets luxury. Her estimated $750 million net worth is drawn from an intricate web of Araneta properties, energy ventures, and family investments that stretch from Quezon City to Europe. Her life is a study in restraint, an elegant counterpoint to the flamboyance often associated with her last name. Think Dior gowns, vintage pearls, and dinner parties filled with diplomats instead of drama. Her homes, a Forbes Park mansion and European villas in Spain and France, house priceless art collections and heirlooms from the golden era of Filipino high society. But beyond the chandeliers and political legacy, Irene has found her own voice in culture and philanthropy. She champions Filipino art and heritage, quietly funding museum programs and artists' residencies. If Irene is the bridge between old power and modern grace, our next woman doesn't just inherit history. She runs the show. She's the kind of tycoon whose name can move markets before she even walks into the room. Number 3. Marixie Rufino-Prieto, the media and real estate power matriarch. At one point, she didn't just read the news, she made it. Marixie Rufino-Prieto, the elegant force behind the Philippine Daily Inquirer, shaped national conversation for decades, steering the country's most influential newspaper through political storms and economic shifts. As chairwoman and part owner of the Inquirer Group, Marixie became the quiet gatekeeper of information, a woman who could sway minds with a headline. Her $1.2 billion fortune traces back to media and massive real estate holdings shared with her husband, Isidro Prieto Jr., a property magnate from one of Manila's oldest elite families. Their Forbes Park mansion is a masterpiece of art and architecture. Think marble staircases, European chandeliers, and walls lined with Filipino masters. Beyond media, her family's holdings extend into hotels, offices, and commercial developments that pepper Makati's skyline. But power never clouded her purpose. Marixie has long championed press freedom, education, and women in media, mentoring a new generation of journalists. Even after stepping back from the Inquirer, her influence lingers in every newsroom that values truth over trend. She may have shaped how the nation reads, but our final woman shaped how the nation thinks. From a humble bookstore to a billion-peso empire, she turned pages into power. Number 2. Socorro Ramos, the bookstore billionaire matriarch. Long before billionaire became a buzzword, there was a woman who built one of the most beloved institutions in the Philippines, the National Bookstore. But who was that woman? Let's rewind to the Manila of 1940s. A young woman, Socorro Ramos, stands behind a modest 6x15-meter stand on Escolta Street, selling rented textbooks, notebooks, and flip-flops. When the Japanese occupation shuts down American book imports, her store burns down in the Battle of Manila. She rebuilds. A typhoon hits. She rebuilds again. Out of that grit rises what today is the chain known as National Bookstore, the Philippines' largest bookstore empire. Fast forward decades. Her net worth is harder to pin down with exact precision. Some sources claim around $3.1 billion, though those numbers vary widely. But what's beyond debate is how she transformed literacy access into legacy wealth. The brand now spans hundreds of branches nationwide, with thousands of employees. What makes her wealth fascinating isn't just the scale, it's the soul. Her empire thrived not on flashy products, but on understanding the Filipino psyche. Every pen, paper, and book became a symbol of progress. While others chased profit margins, she quietly built cultural capital. Students, teachers, and dreamers, generations grew up with her brand stitched into their story. At over 100 years old, her legacy remains unshakable. She's passed the reins to her grandchildren, who've modernized the business into publishing, e-commerce, and school supply exports. Yet, Socorro still embodies the company's spirit, humble, disciplined, and sharp as ever. Her Forbes Park home may not scream excess, but her name commands the same respect as the Sy or Gokongwei dynasties. She's been honored with numerous Lifetime Achievement Awards, but her truest wealth is in how she democratized education, funding literacy programs, scholarships, and reading initiatives nationwide. Socorro Ramos didn't just sell books. She sold possibility. And while her fortune was built one receipt at a time, the woman sitting at the very top built malls, banks, and a legacy so massive it practically runs the country's economy. And finally, at number 1, Teresita Sy-Coson, the queen of Philippine capitalism. If the Philippines had a big boss of business, it would undoubtedly be Teresita Sy-Coson, the woman who quietly runs an empire so vast, its influence stretches from the shopping cart to the stock market. Born the eldest daughter of Henry C. Sr., Teresita, or Tessie as she's known, grew up folding shoes at her father's original shoe mart store. That early exposure to the grind shaped her into one of the most formidable business minds in Asia. Today, she serves as vice chairperson of SM Investments Corporation, SMIC, the crown jewel of Philippine corporate power. Under her leadership, SMIC's three pillars, retail, real estate, and banking, have not just dominated but defined the national economy. SM Malls are now part of Filipino life. BDO Unibank is the largest bank in the country, and SM Prime Holdings is one of the most valuable property firms in Southeast Asia. The SM Group's combined market cap now exceeds 3 trillion pesos, $50 billion, representing a staggering 10% of the Philippine Stock Exchange Index. Tessie's crowning achievement, transforming BDO from a mid-sized thrift bank into the undisputed leader of Philippine banking. Through calculated mergers, extended branch hours, and customer-first innovations, she redefined what banking could mean for everyday Filipinos. The slogan, "We find ways," wasn't just marketing, it was her playbook. Despite her empire's reach, Tessie remains famously pragmatic, modestly dressed, understated, but deadly precise in boardroom strategy. Forbes and Fortune have repeatedly listed her among the world's most powerful women, not for headlines, but for hard numbers. Today, BDO serves over 50 million customers, nearly half the nation. Her family's businesses employ hundreds of thousands and influence virtually every major sector. Teresita Sy-Coson doesn't just top the list because of wealth. She tops it because she is the benchmark. In a country where money moves with her decisions, she stands as the axis around which Philippine capitalism spins. And there you have it, the 15 richest Filipino wives. Which one of these females fascinated you the most? Let us know in the comments. And for more such peeks into the lives of the rich, take a look at our channel.